Hi, everybody. Welcome to Conversations with Calvin, We the Species. It's an interesting day, actually, today. It's called Tuesday because it's February 22nd, 2022. So it's called Tuesdays. And as we speak, there are a ton of people in New York City running to City Hall to get married because it's Tuesday. And it's Tuesday, and I'm with WAJID HASSAN, and I've been, gosh, we got together. We met online, and it was instant chemistry, and I've gone on to interview WAJID and talk about the struggle for world sanity, which I read twice. And I don't read things twice, but I read this twice. And it's on Amazon, and you should read it because it's quite relevant to our living. And we met, and then we did another interview, and WAJID is part of this little group that we put together called Climate Optimists, which is optimist is a great word. And we talk about the environment, and of course WAJID addresses that here. But today, and I'll let WAJID jump in 2 seconds. Today we're going to talk about a very provocative subject that's non-religious. It's just a subject. It's called Satan is Dead. And we're gonna talk all about that. So I'm done with my little monologue, and it always gives me a great pleasure to introduce WAJID HASSAN. For one of many reasons, he climbed to the top of Mount Kilimanjaro. And therefore he's a hero of mine because I always dreamed of that. It's where Hemingway hung out. I'd like to be a writer, and WAJID climbed that. So WAJID, take it away, a little intro, and let's jump into the topic.
Thanks, Calvin. Once again, great to be on your show. And I think also you forgot to mention that, you also were the moderator for another podcast we did called The Living, Breathing Mother Earth. And so you helped coordinate that as well, which was very successful.
Thank you. So this is quite a topic that we have here, and let's see if we can dissect and digest and develop. These are the 3 Ds that I just came up with. So what does Satan is dead mean, and how do we know that Satan is dead?
Well, first of all, of course, your listeners have to keep an open mind, but these are the days of revelation. Unfortunately, in the media, anything that's true is considered lies, and anything that's lied is considered truth. And so there's a lot of speculation, there's a lot of conspiracies going around, and especially in social media, and people are confused. They don't know which side to take. And I think all these are especially designed to keep people confused. And so, with a controversial subject like this, these are the days of revelation. These are the days where, a part of writing my book was to reveal certain truths that have not been revealed before. And again, the subject of Satan is dead is that, there's a long history, background of good and evil, and the origins of good and evil. And we're going to go into that today in the podcast. But I followed, a yogi master, an Englishman by the name of Dr. George King, and he wrote a book called The Three Saviors Are Here. And in there, he revealed that that there was, there has and there's always has been a battle between good and evil, not only on this physical realm, but people have to be aware that there are levels above us and levels below us that we go to when we die. We stay there, and then we reincarnate and come back onto the physical level, and then we pass away. And so, reincarnation is a fact. it's not something that can be denied anymore. It's something that needs to be taught worldwide. Just that truth itself has been hidden in the mainstream religions for many centuries and has been suppressed. So that truth has to come out. And so this particular, Dr. King revealed there was a particular battle that occurred. He said that based on him as a yogi master projecting to these other realms, which if you look at Hindu and Buddhist philosophy, they back it up. And of course, many other people who have done conscious astral projection know that there are these realms. Unless you're very psychic or you could do that, most people are generally unaware of the invisible realms. But he said that there's 6 levels above us and 4 levels below us. And the 4 levels below us are referred to as the lower astral realms. And unfortunately, people like the warmongers and the rapists and the murderers and all those that do pretty bad things. When we die, there's no punishing. I don't believe there's a punishing God. I believe that we just go to the vibration that we deserve to go to based on our actions on the physical realm. So there's no cruel judge that's judging you when you die. You just judge yourself. Your higher self judges you, and then you go to these realms. And in these lower astral realms, there's a lot of evil people that dwell there. And Dr. King talked about 3 specially trained spiritual masters that were introduced onto this particular physical realm, who actually went to these lower realms and did battle with the person that throughout history has been referred to as Satan or Beelzebub or Shaitan, or whatever name he, she, or it had it. And his organization, the Ethereal Society, was probably one of the only organizations to claim that on February the 24th, 1969, the final aspect of this monster referred to as Satan was physically killed or transmuted in these lower astral realms. So again, this was an invisible war, which most people on this planet were not even aware of. And had they been aware, there's probably nothing they could do about it. But based on the information that I was given, it was known that that this evil monster was prepared to take over the souls or the whole planet by creating, an environment where similar to what's going on actually right now, where it would have concluded in a global nuclear war, where he could again have recruited or used those people who died in these lower realms as part of his evil empire, and that was actually stopped.
Mm-hmm.
And so Dr. King did write that book, which people can get on that link. And again, people may think, well, this is a bunch of science fiction or something like that. But the one good thing we discussed in our meetings previously is that people, again, have to keep an open mind. They have to discriminate between what is truth and do their own research and come to their own conclusions. So
Right.
I'm just putting forward a truth which, again, has not been revealed to the general public before. And it's very interesting that I talk about Satan being dead, because it doesn't mean that all evil has been completely destroyed. I believe that the main aspect of evil, known as Satan, was destroyed, which gives man some breathing space in the future. But there are still demonic forces. There are still powers of darkness, which is pretty evident right now with this war brewing between Ukraine and Russia, which could possibly lead to a nuclear war, which is absolutely atrocious. And I want to again, these things have been planned. This is not something that just occurred. And all the wars through history were specially planned by these demonic forces, because they don't live on food and water like we do. They live on the vibrations of the suffering vibrations of mankind, and that feeds their you know, that's their elixir. That's what gives them power. And the ultimate power is that they don't need money or material things. The ultimate power is power over somebody else. That's the ultimate power, control over somebody else. And so I think, again, there's still this battle that's going on between good and evil.
Yeah.
And the gist of my message again tonight is that we have to rise up en masse and change this vibration from evil to which is our heritage, which is peace, love, and enlightenment.
Wow. And you know, it's kind of synchronistic that we picked this particular time and day to talk about this, because you know, the headlines, we discussed this before we went on air, everything going on and how fragile our life is here on earth. How, I mean, fragile, you know, that's talking about pressing a button and that's it. And that's it. And it's inconceivable, and nobody can conceive of it. But I mean, yeah, people can conceive of it, but it's so real. And so I've been kind of a mess today, and I'm so glad there was no cake in the house for me to eat, because I would have eaten an entire layer cake in one fell swoop, because I needed a release. No, I go back because I'm older, and I go back to the Cuban Missile Crisis. I was in high school, and they're talking about the world coming to an end the next day or a day or two, when those Russian ships confront our blockade. And I was only in high school, but I was filled with such a sense of doom that I gathered the $2 or $3 that I had in my pocket, and I went to the diner across the street from this little drugstore that I worked in. And for the first time in my life, I ordered a tuna fish salad platter with potato salad and coleslaw, because I thought this was my last supper. So if I would have had layer cake today, I would have completely eaten the whole thing, because I worry.
Well, the thing is, Calvin, people are under this false impression, and my yogi master mentioned that you know, the God is going to save us all. It's the furthest from the truth ever, because if we look at our history, this is the fourth time that we as a race have gone into atomic bombs and weaponry. You know, going back to, you know, just the two civilizations that were on, you know, never mind going back to the destruction of Maldek, the atomic destruction of Maldek. You look at the civilization of Lemuria, that was destroyed in an atomic war, and of course Atlantis was destroyed in an atomic war. And history always repeats itself. And I agree with you. The Cuban crisis, we were on the brink of nuclear war. We were, and it was an intervention of higher beings. It was the intervention of people generating, you know, because the dark forces or the demonic forces were creating these conditions to create, again, you know, a global war, which would brought endless suffering and give them power over people who died, you know, in these terrible circumstances. And this was stopped by people getting together, people sending out spiritual energy, people getting together in groups, and physically sending this tangible energy of love, this pranic energy that comes from the sun, which I believe stopped the Cuban crisis. Now, if people hadn't done that, I think we would not be talking today. We would be on a world with, you know, breathing with radioactivity poisoning.
Mhm.
And that's exactly the plans that Satan don't, your listeners need to understand that over the centuries, Satan has been depicted as a like a guy with hooves and a pitchfork and and horns, but that's the furthest from the truth. He was a very cunning, very sophisticated black magician, and we're talking about the war between black magicians and white magicians. I'm not talking about any particular race, but the energy of dark force and white force. And he was an extremely clever magician. And coming back to reincarnation, an advanced yogi or a yogi master, they can hold back their reincarnation and stay on these realms for thousands of years. And the same with the black demonic magicians. They also can create magic in these realms and not come back onto the physical realm. And that's where they stay. And what Dr. King said, because when he was alive, he physically projected to these lower astral realms, and he said there's cities there, there's buildings. He said they use weaponry. He said, which is like 200 years ahead of the technology right now. They use, laser weaponry and all kinds of spore bacterial missiles. And
Wow.
so we're looking at realms that are just as physical as this physical realm. They just exist on a different vibrational sequence. They're more subtle, but they're just as physical. If you went to any of these lower realms, or if you went to a higher realm, he said that if you hit a brick wall, he said you would hurt your head in that projected form. So they're just as physical. They're just on a different vibrational sequence. So it was these specially trained spiritual masters that came actually not from this earth, from higher dimensional planets within this solar system. And this is the beauty of the whole story, is that it was told that centuries before this, some of the higher beings could project themselves into time, and they actually saw the destruction of mankind. And so this was again planned centuries ago for these interplanetary masters to come and do battle with Satan. And him and his army for centuries have planned all these dictators, all these wars. They were specially devised. There's no such thing as a a war that's haphazardous, because even this conflict between Russia and Ukraine, I believe, was planned months, if not years ago. This whole propaganda machine is designed, I believe, for the corporations to, again, the prices of oil go up, they make profit. The weaponry used, they make profit. So it's all designed for a bunch of like crazy, materialistic people that behind the scenes that are creating these. And what's the result? Suffering, murder, violence by innocent men, women, and children. So we, again, in these precarious times, have to rise up en masse, and we have to physically send this spiritual energy. That's the only solution that will cure this problem or any other problem. Everything else has been tried. The economic system does not work. The dogma of religion has not worked. The warmongers, the generals, they have not achieved any lasting peace. And the only lasting peace is to go back to the spiritual laws as laid down by great masters like Jesus and Buddha and Krishna, and listen to the real political leaders of the world, the spiritual masters, and not these maniacs that are again trying to cause a global war.
Well, it makes so much sense. I'm digesting this, and of course, I my own spirituality. I so agree. Um, I just want to go off topic a quick second. You mentioned a few times reincarnation. So I have a question to ask you, and I never asked. By the way, I never asked this of anyone before, so I'm honored to ask you this question about reincarnation, of which I have strange feelings, and I've had strange feelings for a long time, and that's why I wrote my second novel to talk about spirit. So there's an element to me that it was after I climbed a mountain in Arizona, in Sedona, a mountain that had energies, uh, um, and I came back to New Jersey. This was in the 90s. I came back to New Jersey, and I was filled with this feeling of deja vu all the time. Powerful. It's still with me all these years later. But the deja vu would manifest itself. I'd be driving on a highway or a street or a road, and I actually would slow down. And I would look at a barn with trees, and I would get this strange feeling that I've been there before. Powerful, and it's with me all the time. It's a nice feeling. It's a perplexing feeling, and like I said, it's with me all the time. I'd look at a shadow that a tree would give off, and it would cast a shadow on the ground, and I'm saying I was here before, and or I'd be on a train going from Jersey into New York, and we'd pass like an old factory that was abandoned, and I'd look at it, and I kind of I was here before. So is that a byproduct of reincarnation? Is
So that's a very good question, because deja vu could mean two things. It could either mean that you were there in the last life, and you were visiting, or they say that the higher power plans out who your parents are going to be in your next life and the exact minute that you're going to be reborn. And I think a path is laid out for your incarnation, and so that's why a psychic person can actually project or see things that are going to occur in your life. So some of those things are laid out, and so the deja vu could also be the fact that part of you planned this and remembers, like, this is where I was supposed to be. So there's two aspects of that.
okay.
Coming back to reincarnation, I mean, even Christian scholars, they're coming forward now. They've done their research that reincarnation was actually taught in the Christian church, was deliberately taken out 700 years ago in order to create this one life to live, in order to control the masses, that either you do what you do, or
Uh-huh.
you're damned to eternity and hell, which is rubbish. There's no such thing as eternity and hell. We create our own hell and heaven. There's no punishing divine being looking over us to smack us. We create our pain, we create our happiness. But again, we can't blame a divine being for World War II or World War I. We can't blame a divine being for Belsen and the killing of 6 million Jews. This was done by man. This wasn't done by by any divine being. We regressed. We listened to our lower self, and we didn't listen to our higher self. And we create these conditions. The bombs on Nagasaki in Hiroshima were horrific, killed millions of children. This is man's doing. This is not God's doing. God's will for us is to be kind, to be merciful, to love each other, not to murder. Those are the spiritual divine laws which we've regressed from, and we act as if we're compassionate and caring, and in the end we follow the dictates of people who are guiding us to mass murder, just like you know they say the road to hell is paved with good intentions. Hitler had all the best intentions for the German race, which pretty much caused the destruction of the German race and the murder of millions, as did, Hitler, as did Stalin and Mussolini and Pol Pot and, Julius Caesar. I mean, it's just endless. These were pawns for the lower astral realms. They were impressed mentally. They were pretty much possessed with their evil intentions to become pawns. And there are human pawns on this earth that are being guided mentally. On the other hand, there are spiritual beings, there are spiritual masters who are being guided by the higher angels, by the higher dimensions, who care and love and watch us. And so this battle is in full swing. We're right in the middle of it. And if this is not a wake-up call to everybody to rise up in peace, you tell me what. I belong to a group. Every day we're sending out spiritual power. People can go to 12blessings.org and join us. And if they don't want to do that, they regardless of race, color, creed, or religion, all they have to do is, in their own way, lift up their arms, visualize the white spiritual light, send it out as a tangible energy, and we can create the peace. We can be the change, like Mahatma Gandhi said, we can be the change that we want to see in the world. We need to stop blaming. We can't blame, we can't blame Russia. We can't blame China. We've, again, as part of the human race, we created the dictators of Russia and China and all these places. We're just as responsible, or the people who live in those countries are just as responsible for allowing these people to come up and cause mayhem.
Mm-hmm.
So, the responsibility is ours, and we can't shirk from it. And if we come as a collective, and the good thing, the positive thing, Calvin, is that despite what we see around us, there are higher beings. There are from other dimensions, other planets, and even on this planet, the ascended masters of this world, who do watch us, who do care for us, and all we have to do is look up and ask for this energy, this tangible spiritual energy of love, and it will be sent to us, regardless of who we are. And they don't discriminate. Even a murderer can ask for energy and be sent, and it will be sent. So we have weapons of peace that can combat these weapons of mass destruction.
So well said, because I believe in that. With having written my novel, by the way, just to interject, when I was listening to you, I sometimes think of myself as an antenna, and I've experienced that for the last 10, 12 years. The higher you raise this antenna, the more you get, the more you are receptive, the more you receive. I was taken into a whole new world of spirit 10 or 12 years ago, and some of that was related to the number 444, which in Catholic, I believe it's Catholic teaching, it's a sign of angelic intervention, a spiritual intervention. And so that 444 and 111, it guided my life to the point, sometimes I get all choked up. I mean, it happens to me every day for the last 10 or 12 years, this spiritual stuff. It's wonderful. It's a gift, and I'm very grateful. To me, I call it a simple gift. Nobody up there is giving me the 6 numbers in the Mega Millions. And I don't even want it, because if I had that kind of money, I'd be hanging upside down for some tree. So I don't ask for that, but the simple gift of spirit, of which you are endowed, of which you are, and that's one of the bonds of our friendship. Your spirituality, which I love spirituality. But the 444 has been all over my life for so long, and I, it's an angelic thing, and I'm very grateful. for that. And I don't know, a few years ago, I don't know what possessed me. Something up there possessed me. But I looked at where I was born, and I don't know how I came upon this, Wajid, but I looked where I was born, and I was born in Newark, and something made me look at the longitude and latitude, and it's 444. You can't make that stuff up.
There's no such thing as coincidence. There never has been, there never will be. We're directed to exactly the experiences that we need or deserve. Some of them are not so pleasant. In fact, some of the more painful experiences have actually made me more empathetic and compassionate than the so-called pleasurable experiences. So, well, they said that pain is inevitable, suffering is an option. So we just have to go through what we need to go through. But yeah, I mean, I've had incidences where I'm walking down the street in the middle of Los Angeles, in the millions of people, and you come across somebody you've known before as a friend or something, just on the street in the middle of this metropolis.
Yeah.
I mean, can you imagine? And I'm sure everybody's had that kind of scenario. I mean, there's no such thing as coincidence. Absolutely
all
not.
grand design. It's all. So, this is great stuff. Is there anything you want to wrap up in what we?
Well, I mean, there's no such thing as coincidence, but there is still the free will that we have. And unfortunately, over the centuries, we have misused our free will. And, the only way to freedom in these days is to control our free will, is that we don't have full reign, so-called, of the dominion of the animals and the planets and the plants and whatever. No, we don't. We're custodians of this planet. We have to look after the animals and the plants and the people. And so people mankind takes everything for granted. We just take for granted that the sun rises every day, that we have air to breathe. I mean, this gaseous envelope that's been created for us, that could be taken out tomorrow and we can all be dead. We just take for granted the water that we drink or the food that we eat. So we need to start realizing that, that we need to appreciate what we have and not take it for granted. And again, the spiritual war is in full swing. I mentioned in our meetings before that despite everything that's occurring around us right now, that it's not a case of might. There is going to be a new age that is going to dawn on Mother Earth in the centuries to come. There's going to be a new age where there will be no war, there will be no races, there'll be just open land and sea, and mankind will be allowed again to express himself. There will be no political system, there will be no economic system. There will be people will be able to express themselves because we're spiritual beings in physical bodies, and these things are occurring. And those people who don't listen or who are not willing to change, they won't be allowed to inherit this new age that is coming. They will be taken through death to another planet to be reincarnated and start the bloody history that we've created for 18 million years on this planet. So I want to end with a vision of hope, of inspiration, of joy, which is our heritage. We did not come on this planet to suffer. That is our own making. My yogi master said that there's only one reason we're here on this planet, that's to raise our consciousness, raise the power of Kundalini to higher psychic senses, go into deep meditation, states of happiness and bliss, to the point where we can ascend and go onto different realms of existence. That is our heritage, not the madness that we see today. And the most safest way to do that, to help rise, is to constantly send this energy out. Because as we're sending this energy out, we're bombarding the base of the spine with these energies, and eventually this power will rise in a natural fashion. So the call to action in these days of Aquarius is service to others, sending out the light. The more light we send out by the law of karma, things like the law of karma, reincarnation, all these things need to be taught to children before math and science, that people are, that they need to know that they are responsible for their actions, and anything we put out, we get back. So the best thing is to align ourselves to the spiritual, because what we send out, we get back. And so that is really the gist of the message, and we need to start thinking about these things and not blaming others. And of course, I wake up in fear and anxiety every day. I'm supposed to be a spiritual guy, but I can feel it in the air. I can feel the propaganda and the fear that's been created. But you and me and other people, we have tools now in our hands. We have these spiritual tools, these that we can use and send out these beams of energy and help transmute the hatred and the fear and the violence and the murder, which is being created by a bunch of maniacs that want to keep control of us.
Well said. I'm so down in support of what you said. We are antennas, and the spirit and the goodness and the service to others. That's why you and I keep on getting back together again. I just to close, I do urge folks to go to Amazon and pick this up and read it. It's a great read. There's so much in here. The last chapter is A Glorious Future, which we need to read more of and hear more of. And you will be back soon, and I won't tell people why you're going to be back soon, but you're going to be back soon to chat about some other topics, things of interest. So you will be back soon, and I'm very grateful to the universe for having put us together. It's great stuff, and it's been 6, 7, 9 months. It's actually 9 months, like a gestation period. So I'm thrilled, and I value and cherish the friendship and your knowledge and your wisdom, and I thank you, Wajid, on this special 2/22/22 day. So be well, go in peace, and all good things, and we'll talk soon.
Thank you, Calvin. Great to see you again.
Thanks, Wajid. Stay online. I'm gonna kind of close this.